Alright. I'm prepared to continue. Oops. I'm gonna have to read a couple things out of the history here. But that's okay. Perfectly fine. That's right. It is. Logical and true. I'm so glad you've all seen the light. Justice at last. This is unbelievable. Oh, what? How is the ad in progress now? What the? Is Twitch trolling me? Okay, no. Okay, the website was trolling me, we're good. And after I had made so much progress in proving his guilt, is he going to get away with it now? Think of Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san. I think I'm a little too close to the mic. That's okay. They never stopped looking for a way forward until the judge's final gavel. Very well then, counsel. Proceed with what I assume to be your final cross-examination in this trial. Sorry, tripping up a little bit. Yes, Your Excellency. Complete innocence.
Hold it!
So, you do admit that you had murderous intentions towards Miss Brett, then? Ha! The woman's very existence offended my sense of justice. Your sense of... He's claiming some sort of righteous indignation? She was pure evil. A cold-blooded killer who'd committed murder right here on our empire's soil. But did our good-for-nothing government do anything? Not a chance. So I had to step in. Fly the flag of justice. Put things right for the people. Yes, it was my civic duty. That's what drove me to do it. So, in summary, murderous intentions then. Whatever you want to call it. The point is this. That Englishwoman was a blight. So I had to do what was right. For society. Why is the ad trying to run again? I'm sorry, I don't know what it's doing. It's supposed to only run one every 30 minutes. To keep the pre-roll stuff deleted. Yet, a real wrong was done by the student girl in the dock. A crime for which she must
pay.
Oops. That's fine. Obviously. Because the poisoning was nothing to do with me at all. Why would I bother to stab the woman if I already poisoned her? So, you still maintain that you didn't give the poison to the victim? Obviously. That'd be like putting a belt on your trousers when you were already wearing braces like these.
The accused administered the poison, following which this witness stabbed the victim. An unforgivable act, certainly, but not one of murder. That crime rests on the accused's shoulders. That is how the law works, you see, yokel. Who knows, you may even learn something here today.
Two consecutive attempts on her life in the space of minutes. Quite a day for the victim. That's one way to describe it, Mr. Judge, sir. Yep, one heck of a day. Do something that evil, and you've got it coming. That's how the law works. The law of reckoning. That's not the kind of law this court upholds. You will reiterate why you were compelled to stab the victim then, witness.
Hold it!
What exactly were they arguing about? About what happened in that restaurant 9 months ago. That's what. Sorry, his voice keeps shifting slightly, my bad. The student girl was laying into the Englishwoman for killing her beloved mentor, Dr. Wilson. Yes, John H. Wilson. A professor of medicine. Invited here from England by Professor Mikotoba, no less. Well, thank you very much for that. Yeah, I hope I'm... It's a little bit hard to tell exactly how it really comes across on the stream, though. But I'm trying my best. Right. But the Englishwoman just jeered.
Her case was to be heard by the British Consular Court in Shanghai. However, there is little doubt that she would simply have been acquitted and sent back to her homeland a free woman. It was eating that student girl up inside. You could see it. I really felt for her.
Hold it. I can't. I can't stand here and listen to this tripe. Lay.
Young girl, you stand accused here. You can't just blurt out whenever you feel like it.
No, you can't. Sorry, but I'm in the middle of some very important testimony here. Just keep quiet and listen. But this awful man is making all of this up. Susato, please. You have to make them listen. Return to the dock at once, Membami-san. We are in the middle of a cross-examination.
Hold it!
Your Excellency, please, I implore you. That journalist is clearly not a trustworthy witness. Exactly. He's a filthy, rotten, black-hearted, bigoted, dirty, great peeping Tong. Whoa. Take it easy there. Yeah, she's not wrong. Please. I really think the court should hear what the defendant has to say.
Your Excellency, I see no need whatsoever to entertain the accused's remarks.
I will grant the request of the defense.
But, Your Excellency...
This is likely to be the final cross-examination of these proceedings. As such, I believe it would be ill-advised to stifle the defendant's obvious concerns. So, whilst recognizing that this contravenes regular protocol, I hereby call upon the defendant to speak. Oh. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. It was nothing to do with Dr. Wilson. We were discussing the stolen poison.
Hold it!
The stolen poison that killed the victim, you mean? I suspected her of being the one to steal it. I mean, just think about how she killed Dr. Wilson.
That's true. Additionally, Miss Brett certainly had knowledge of the new poison. But surely it would be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed for the government. Indeed, all visitors to the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be very difficult. That's true. I pestered Professor Mikotoba until he agreed to show me the poison when I visited his laboratory. But as I left, I was searched from top to tail. Miss Brett rather bluntly revealed the existence of the toxin we'd been developing, you see. And since Soseki-san expressed such an interest in it, I felt unable to refuse. Obviously, I gave nothing away, other than the fact that it was an extremely potent substance. I'm very ashamed of myself. It's just that I've had a singularly terrible experience with a deadly poison. I wanted to look my old enemy in the eye. Surely you can understand that.
Sorry, one moment. Need more water.
To find out if my suspicions were true, I confronted Miss Brett about the poison. I told her that if there were to be an incident involving it somehow, it wouldn't just be the university. The military would be dragged into it. The whole government, even. It would be a complete disaster. And how did Miss Brett respond to your concerns? She just curled those beautiful lips of hers and said she didn't know the first thing about it. In English, actually. Ah, yes. Manimamo-san. One small question, if you don't mind. I do mind. Can't you see I'm busy? Clearly, you were outside the beach hut, listening in whilst the defendant and Miss Brett were conversing. Beautiful is an interesting descriptor for her lips in this case. No, I think it's appropriate. It might be a little bit strange that she chose to use that description in this context, but it makes it more fun to read, so I'm fine with it. Presumably, then, it was you who wrote this article about what you'd heard. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research laboratory. The story was published in this morning's edition of Shoyu News. The details are too accurate for it to have been written by anyone else. Sorry. Don't know what you're talking about. He's sweating furiously. Yes, look at this. The entire article is almost what I said to Miss Brett, word for word. Well, many memo-san. As a journal and as a citizen of a free country, I don't have to reveal my sources. That's a founding principle of many memoism. Not citing your sources is bad press, sir. Your source can't just be "just trust me, bro." But yeah. I can understand sometimes you need to use anonymous sources in order to get the truth out there, but... And this would be a sensitive enough case that you would keep your source anonymous reasonably, but... My sources, I made it up. Yeah, perfect. Father's clearly right about this. That reporter did write that article, and he based it on what he overheard from outside the hut. The details of the poison article have been updated. Manny Memo-san based it on information he gleaned by eavesdropping. So, that's what it was all about. You were trying to cover up the fact that you were listening in. That's why you came up with that stinking story about me arguing with her. Shut up! My stories never stink. Look, whatever you say, little girl, it doesn't alter the facts. Your Excellency, there is something I want to say, and I want it to go on the record. Very well. You may amend your formal testimony. It's just super awkward deep breathing here. The point is, if you'd poison someone, there'd be no reason to go and stab them as well.
Hold it!
Perhaps you doubted the efficacy of the poison and sought to make sure your victim would die. That's horse dung. What? That would be like pouring pepper on your Chinese ramen before you'd even tasted it. Completely reckless. Although, it might surprise you to learn that I am a bit of an impetuous pepper pourer, as it happens. Once the victim had taken the poison, she would have been only minutes away from death. And yet, this man then proceeded to stab her in the back as well. There has to have been a good reason for that. If it was the reporter who gave the poison to Miss Brett, then clearly he must have done it prior to Ray entering the hut. Yes, that's undeniable. But between him leaving the hut and the victim being stabbed, there was one very crucial change in the situation. Sorry? What change? The reporter overheard the conversation between Lei and the Englishwoman. Ah, yes, that's it. That's when Menimemo-san first found out the exact nature of the poison he'd used. That could be the key here. If the victim had unwittingly taken the poison already, the reporter would have no reason to stab her. On the face of it, that logic sounds entirely reasonable. But there's no question that this man was responsible for Miss Brett's murder. If we could think of a plausible explanation as to why he might have stabbed her, even after the poisoning, I feel sure that everything would drop into place. That's what we're looking for. Yes, I agree. And in order to do that, I must try to glean more information. Here's where we look through the court record again. We're gonna look through the poison article. Even the smallest amount entering the body, either via the mouth or a wound from a blade, could prove fatal in minutes. Current methods can't detect the new chemical. University would be consulted. Onset of the symptoms occurs in minutes, starting with impaired breathing and ending with the acute contraction of the pupils prior to death. Such symptoms would be suggestive of this toxin. It's apparently an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids and rumored to have been commissioned by the military. So, is there anything else we can get from this? I guess let's examine the pen again, because there is a mysterious liquid inside. There's no ink in the pen. Let's see.
What do I have here? Here, because we pressed that. Do I have anything to present? Hmm. I guess I can try presenting the article here.
Objection!
Well, I can think of one reason. What?
What?
But before I explain, I'd like you to confirm something for the court. Did you glean all the information for this newspaper article from what you overheard outside the hut?
Of course he did. There can be no question of that. After all, when we were all in the laboratory together, we were told. All we were told is that it was a terrible toxin.
And there is one more important fact to consider. According to the witness, Membami-san's verbal attack against the victim began as soon as she entered the hut. In other words, it would have been impossible for her to have slipped the poison into Miss Brett's drink.
Objection!
Where are you going with this, counsel?
Memo-san has made it quite clear that he observed every single thing that happened in the beach hut. If the defendant had somehow found an opportunity, this man would have seen it.
Which means that Miss Brett couldn't have imbibed the poison whilst the defendant was present. In fact, it must have had been administered to her before Membami-san entered the hut.
Yes, very articulately put. When I walked into the hut, I immediately started to press Miss Brett about the poison. At which point, Memo-san overheard some worrying information.
Worrying information? What worrying information?
The information which he subsequently included in his newspaper article, namely, that the poison was being developed in strict secrecy, and that it couldn't be readily obtained.
Absolutely. In fact, that's quite an understatement. The only possible place it could have come from is my lab.
And furthermore, anyone afflicted by the poison would exhibit telltale signs in death. The extreme constriction of the pupils. Yes, it's quite stark when you see it. There are other poisons that show similar symptoms, but not among new substances that are undetectable. In other words, In other words, it would be clear that the victim's life had been ended by the use of this particular poison, which would reduce the number of suspects to only a handful of people.
Ah. Everyone in my laboratory is aware of the unique properties of the toxin we've been developing. None of them would be foolish enough to attempt to use it for some nefarious deed. Membami-san being no exception.
Therefore, we can conclude that whoever administered this unique poison to the victim was... I think I need some water. Okay. Was a layperson, unaware of its telltale properties. In other words, someone like you, Lighten Many Memo. It was you who stole the poison from the laboratory that day. This song is so good. Okay. And it was you who administered it to the unwitting victim. But you quickly realized that was a terrible mistake. Because the poison caused such unusual symptoms and was so traceable. As you listened in from the far side of the beach hut's thin walls, you learned of these facts. But you'd already given the victim the poison at that point. It was too late. So, you hatched a plan to disguise your mistake. A plan that involves stabbing the victim in the back through the reed screen.
Objection!
But what good could that possibly do?
Isn't it obvious, Counsel? The plan was to kill Miss Brett before the poison could take effect. Oh! Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. But the poison still did take effect.
Once in the blood, the poison causes the onset of pupil constriction. But he had hoped to precipitate the victim's death before that happened, hadn't he?
Exactly. Because without any revealing signs of the new secret poison's use, no one would ever have suspected. This is extraordinary. Yes. The effects of the poison meant it would be too easily identified. So, the killer had to mask its use. Which he attempted to do by plunging a knife into the middle of the victim's back.
Which actually, this just means if he never wrote the poison article and published it, we actually wouldn't have been able to make it this far in the case, and the poison probably would have never come up. Like, legitimately. His commitment to the news has created his own downfall. Order. 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 The argument presented is sound. The court is satisfied that it warrants consideration. Does the prosecution have a counter-argument it wishes to put forward?
Well, there are a number of... I mean, yes. I counter completely.
Objection!
The prosecution's evasive response clearly shows that in much the same way as he nurtures the remnants of his topknot, he is clinging to lost hope. Lost hope.
Hold it. Ugh. You pathetic, useless, fallen samurai. Samurai. Fallen? Who are you calling fallen? Who are you calling fallen? My burgeoning growth is on the rise. I don't need a counter-argument.
What are you talking about?
It should be blatantly obvious. I stole the poison, you say? Gave it to the victim, you say? Stabbed her, you say? Lots of fine theories.
The last one you admitted to, sir. I will have to point out.
But I don't need a counter-argument. Because you don't have an argument yourself. Where's your evidence? Yes, you make it all sound so plausible, don't you? But without evidence, it means nothing. Whereas I base my news on facts.
Facts. What do you mean? Explain yourself.
I mean, what the professor said earlier in this trial. It's all here. In my many memos, every word, every slip of the tongue, all noted. That's what the Show You News is famous for. It's the power of the printed word.
But Surely it would be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed for the government.
Indeed, all visitors to the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be very difficult.
It's okay, I know how he did it.
How's that then? Blown the story wide open? See, I, Raiten Manimemo, a mere reporter from Shoyu News, couldn't possibly have stolen that poison from the professor's laboratory.
But there can't be any question of it. He must have stolen the poison that day. He stole it and used it to kill. And if that's the case, as you've identified, the poison itself is the definitive evidence we need. Because whoever stole it from the laboratory that day is the true culprit here.
What's your point, you annoyingly handsome country bumpkin?
I like how they just keep saying how attractive she is. My point is this. There is one way that you, Manimemo-san, could have stolen the poison that day. I have heard enough verbal conjecture now. Thank you. What the court must be shown as evidence. What proof do you have that this witness stole the poison on the day in question? Well, but how do I...
Take that!
Well, I think you'll agree that no. By that you prove to intend that the... You couldn't know until you'd attempted it yourself, Your Excellency. Okay, fine. Which means that the thief must have transferred a quantity of it to another container. Don't give it all away, Father. So, what you're saying is I should be looking for a piece of evidence that could be used as some kind of vessel.
Well, yes. That is more or less what I said, indeed.
Fine, we'll examine it. God, are we flirting in the courtroom? Perhaps. But I don't get it. It doesn't... I guess you're just supposed to conclude that the poison's in the pen even though you can't prove it. Without the chemical reagent that proves that the thing is in the pen. Murder pen. The proof, Your Excellency, is this fountain pen. A fountain pen? How can that possibly be relevant? These magical pens somehow seem to have enough ink to write many thousands of kanji characters. I believe that they arrived in our country for the first time some 15 years ago now. Bah! I swear by a weasel hair calligraphy brush and and nothing else. These newfangled pens are merely a fad.
Well, as a forward-thinking man of words, obviously I love my fountain pen.
Sorry. What? What? What are you saying, Soseki-san? What the heck word is that? What kind of word is that? Excuse me. Oh, it's a French word. No wonder I'm so confused.
Soupçon.
Okay, there we go.
Suck up a soupçon of sumptuous ink, and one's work is awash with words in the blink of an eye.
Sick pose, honestly vogue. Yeah, no. Soseki-san's got all the JoJo poses.
That's right. Fountain pens have a small reservoir in the barrel, into which ink is sucked up through the nib of the pen in order to write with later.
What does all this talking of sucking up ink have? Ah!
And just as it's possible to suck up ink into the reservoir, it's also possible to eject it through the nib again, of course. My word. Can this really be? Well, Manimemo-san. When you saw the deadly poison before your eyes in the laboratory that day, you used your fountain pen, your very lifeblood, to steal some of it, didn't you? By siphoning the poison up through the nib and into the pen's reservoir.
Gah! More absurdity. That never happened.
True. We've heard that there were procedures in place to prevent thefts like this from the laboratory. But would anyone have thought to look inside a fountain pen of all places?
No, I'm a little ashamed to say that for fear of offending our guests, such a detailed search would not have been conducted.
Well, this is quite startling, I must say. I remind the court that this pen was found in the clutches of the victim when she died. In other words, it was dropped at the scene by Manimemo-san.
Oh, did the stream break and go live again at some point? I guess it looks like it did. Or maybe just because I refreshed the page, the session. Reset the timer. I don't know. It's fine. I just assumed the stream's been working the whole time.
So, the critical question is, when exactly was the pen dropped? Are you suggesting The natural conclusion is that in your haste to act whilst the victim was distracted for a moment, you dropped the pen after you emptied the poison from it into her glass.
Objection!
There could be any number of alternative explanations. For example, the witness could have been using his pen to write down the details of his conversation with the victim. Okay, thank you for confirmation. And when shocked by one of her outrageous answers, the pen fell from his quivering hand.
Objection!
Nah, he's not so unprofessional as to drop his pen while conducting an interview. No, that can't be. If it was, how do you explain why the pen was devoid of ink? What? As you can see for yourself if you examine the evidence, there would appear to be no ink present in the pen's reservoir. What newspaper reporter goes into an interview with someone with nothing in his pen? No. The pen was dropped after the poison that filled its reservoir had been emptied into the victim's glass. Witness, what do you have to say in your defense? So, this is how our modern justice system works, is it? So what if the ink in my pen runs dry? So what if my pencil snaps? I can always claw my way back into the game. I have plenty in reserve. There you go, that's how you know that he has enough pencils to just keep breaking them willy-nilly. It's Wolverine. Yeah, I was just gonna say something like that. He looks like he could be Wolverine. Ha! Did he just throw all of his pencils? He does have the same facial hair. You claim I sucked the poison up into my pen. That's wild speculation. Nothing more. If you thought you could bring down a fine, upstanding citizen with a trick like that, think again. Where did the pencils go? It looks as though this is going to take one final decisive blow to finish the matter. As I see it, the situation is now very simple. It rests upon whether or not this witness did indeed steal the poison on the day in question. Yeah, it's like the guy that tossed wine into the crowd or something. Yep, that's Prosecutor Van Zieks. I'm sure we'll see him again after this trial. And therefore, it all depends on whether or not the defense can prove that he did that with evidence. Ha! No such evidence can possibly exist.
Objection!
Many Momo-san. This is how our modern justice system works.
What?
In the courtroom, evidence is everything. Something you would do well to remember. Because we are well past the point of speculation at this stage, I assure you. Very well then. I call upon the defense to present the aforementioned evidence. This is it then. This will be the final piece of evidence in the puzzle. The defense can prove by means of this item that it was the witness's pen that was used to steal the poison.
Take that!
The chemical reagent for testing for it. Counsel, what is that bottle? This bottle contains the unique chemical reagent that can identify the poison in question. Ah!
Yes. That poison is an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids, developed by my colleagues and I. It would be impossible to detect traces of it by any other method.
Or, from another perspective, simply with this chemical reagent, anybody at all could check for traces of the poison.
A reagent? What?
One drop of the contents of this bottle on the tip of your fountain pen, many memo-san, is all it will take to solve this case beyond all reasonable doubt.
No. You can't. I won't.
Right? The music cuts, like the timings on this stuff is all spectacular. Your crimes are bad enough, but at least know when to admit defeat. You gotta stop, like, threatening everyone. It's wild. Your Excellency. The defense requests permission to carry out the test on the fountain pen at once.
Yeah. This isn't my fault. The Empire drove me to do this, trying to hold a civilized nation up. I took arms in the form of mighty pen at the time. All the time, justice, righteousness, many.
Susato, with me. I'm there. Hiya! Did I do it right? That was a Susato takedown, wasn't it? Not quite. I tried my best to read that. That was so fast. That was so fast. Oh my god. Okay. That was a Ryutaro takedown. The instant that the first drop of the reagent touched the nib of the pen, it was clear to everyone present.
When I saw it there, in the lab, the poison, the devil got hold of me, and I decided to do it on a whim. I excused myself and emptied all the ink down the sink in the bathroom, washing the reservoir out carefully.
And then you waited for an opportunity to suck up some of the poison, didn't you? Into your fountain pen.
Yes, that's right. Answer me on one thing, Manimemo-san. Why did you steal it? For what purpose? Isn't it obvious? To find out what it was made of and expose it in an article. I mean, it was a secret project after all. Too juicy for a journal like me to pass up.
Then why did the English woman end up dead?
I went into that hut intending to quiz her on her situation, that's all. As a reporter. A known killer, enjoying full freedom, evading justice by leaving the country. I told her what I thought about it. And she just laughed in my face.
Oh, what's this? A Far Eastern caveman purporting to practice journalism? Really? You must learn the difference between reporting and listening at doorways. You ignorant plebeian.
What? What did you call me?
This country, with its pretensions to a justice system, to a free press, it's really very depressing. You see our superior ways in the West, yet you lack the mental capacity to emulate them. Get out of here, you oaf. Get out and crawl back into the cave you came from.
That's when I remembered. About the deadly poison I happened to have in my pen at the time.
What a terrible tale. Yeah, I don't know if I quite did miss Brett's voice right there, but I do have a YouTube video up on my channel that was just a compilation of me voicing her in the first case. Because that was a lot of fun to voice her lines. Like actual, just straight up villainess character.
In my head, I knew I should just get out of there as quickly as possible. But I couldn't. I couldn't let her get away with what she'd done, when she clearly had no remorse at all. I suppose it was my journo spirit, getting all fired up.
I'd like to ask you something.
Yes?
You often talk about justice. But surely, as a journalist, you could have used other means to deliver the justice you sought.
There's no justice in the press.
Sorry.
After that trial 9 months ago, I kept digging and digging to find out what had happened in that courtroom. And finally, I discovered the truth. It was a cover-up. That's what it was.
A cover-up? What do you mean?
I would remind you of your position, witness. Be careful of what you say. Oh, come on. Doesn't it strike you as strange? We're suddenly not allowed to convict a foreign national. Consular jurisdiction never should have come into it. And yet that puffed-up Englishwoman was going to sail away into the sunset. A free woman. The only possible explanation is that behind the scenes, some deal had gone down between Britain and Japan.
What sort of deal?
I'd done my research, dug up all the dirt. It was all ready to be published. But you know what happened? The editor just tore the article up. He came under pressure from the government, you mean? If our government is going to let criminals walk free, if they're going to crush the free press, then what choice do I have but to see that justice done myself?
Let's not forget, Menimemo-san. That you committed murder yourself, and you tried to lay the blame at the defendant's door. I'm sorry, but you're no better than Giselle, Brett.
What?
The truth is, you have no right to talk about justice at all.
I suppose.
It would appear that we have reached a conclusion in this trial at last. Counsel for the defense, Ryutaro Naruhodo. Yes. Sorry, Your Excellency. Just musing in a manly way here. It's almost unbelievable that this is your first experience of the Supreme Court. It was an excellent performance. In truth, it very much reminded me of your young cousin's exploits. Naruhodo-san. Ryunosuke, you mean? The way he handled that trial 9 months ago, and the way you handled this one. It gives me hope that we are genuinely entering a new era of justice in this land. That's very flattering, Your Excellency. Hearing the defense that you put forward today, made me feel most keenly that the future of our justice system will be forged by you and your contemporaries. Thank you. So, Prosecutor Aochi, do you have any final thoughts? Oh god, he has a knife. He has a short blade. Prosecutor Aochi.
I, Taketsuchi of the Aochi clan, have been bested by a callow youth. Not once now, but twice. If there was any shred of my former self left, it has withered and died here today.
Gosh. Your journey to cultural enlightenment sure took a while, didn't it?
Silence. Rather than living on in shame, I will end it all now with this blade. For that is the true path to Aochiism.
Ouchieism.
One hopes that's the only way in which he'll be modeling himself after the witness.
Spring of my top knot. The time is right for farewell. Hope is lost forever. Taketsuchi. They're praying for his hair. I can't. I can't. Why? I'm crying. I can't. Why? Give me a moment.
God. That was brutal. Oh God. I I think I've caught my breath. We can hope. Give me a moment. Oh God. I I wasn't ready. I was not prepared. Just the way that his hair disintegrated on the wind. It's so good. Okay, wait. Okay, wait. Um, okay, I need a Kleenex. One moment. My nose is running now. Oh God. Okay. Okay, I think I'm actually good now. But for real, I'm I can recover from this. Oh no. Absolute cinematic masterpiece of a scene. There's no oh God. Okay. I'm gonna try my best. Here, I'll do the wake up focus slap that Ryunosuke and Susato did. Okay. Okay, I'm good. Okay. Now, in regard to the defendant, Rei Mambami-san, yes, Your Excellency. I have reached my final verdict. I hereby find you not guilty. Um, the sakura petals. Gosh. Court is adjourned. The 13th of August, 2:38 p.m. Supreme Court of Judicature. Defendant's Antechamber 3. It's over. My heart is still pounding in my chest, though. It's all I can do to just stay standing. Me too, to be honest. Oh my god. Lawyers have such great responsibility, such a great burden to bear. Don't they, Naruhodo-san? Sorry, I might not be able to get the voices right now. Susato! Susato! Thank you. Thank you so much. You were so dashing in there. Rei and Father. Honestly, I am so touched by everything you've... Oh no, I think I'm going to cry. It wasn't easy, but together we made it. I was on the verge of tears at the end, too. The only reason I'm still here is because of you. Oh, no. I can't take all the credit. It took courage to tell the truth in there. You did wonderfully, Rei. So I would have to say that the congratulations belong to you. Susato, don't be so standoffish. Sorry? We're friends, equals, and the trial's over. So no more of this formal super humility nonsense. It's time to celebrate with swagger, to throw caution to the wind. Caution to the... what? I'm the great defense lawyer, Ryutaro Naruhodo, and I'm taking you out to a milk bar tomorrow. Or something. Right. I see. I'll, think about it. Right? At any rate, we really knocked the wind out of that horrid man. And it felt so good. Yes, it was satisfying. It really was. Isn't there anybody else that we could throw together?
I hope you're not looking at me, Rei.
Oh, my goodness. No, of course not. Of course not. There it is at last. Rei's lovely smile.
You fought for your friend to the very last. As your father, I am extremely proud of you. Defense Attorney, Ryutaro Naruhodo.
Thank you. But I couldn't have done it without your help. Anyway, it's time to bid farewell to Ryutaro, I think. I shall miss him in a way. But it's back to Susato Mikotoba now.
So, I'll never see him again, then. What a terrible shame.
Who's screaming what now? What? Oh, them.
What is happening?
Soseki-san and Inspector Hosonaga, I do hope you've been keeping well.
Is that really you?
Yes, I had to change my appearance for, well, obvious reasons. I hope. But it's me. Susato Mikotoba.
I don't. So, so dashing, so divine. No,
I thought that was Hosanaga's line.
doubly dashing. Yes, and devilishly divine. Just look at you. I had no idea, Miss Susato-san Esquiress, that you were locum student Naruhodo-san Esquire's cousin. Astonishingly astounding ace attorney.
Title drop!
Pachi pachi pachi.
Pachi, pachi, pachi.
Poor Soseki-san. So confused. I still remember the first time I ever met him. He was in a prison cell in London. What an extraordinary conundrum it was that the unwitting student from Japan found himself embroiled in. But after Naruhodo-san's skillful defense at the Old Bailey, Soseki-san was free to return to Japan. And now he seems to have earned himself great fame as an author.
I'm stunned. That's a truly impressive disguise. Even I had no idea. And I'm a chief inspector at the police bureau. Who came up with Mr. Turtle, no less.
Wait, was he trying to disguise himself as a turtle in the water?
I'm not sure you should be admitting to that, Inspector. Amazing. You're a woman of many faces, I see.
Just two, really. And this was a once-in-a-lifetime event. I hope. Oh, I'm not a patch on you, though, Inspector.
Well, I am a professional, of course.
I do worry about Inspector Hosonaga sometimes. I really do. "9 months ago, when he appeared here at the Supreme Court to testify, he was undercover, disguised as the head waiter of a restaurant. And then on the steamship to Great Britain, of course, disguised as a sailor, to keep us safe on the journey. Though, that didn't help you, did it, Kazuma-sama?
From my perspective, I have to admit that I have mixed feelings about all this. I mean, now the truth has been lost forever. What do you mean?
The truth of Miss Brett's case.
She admitted to it.
I'm talking about the murder that the English woman committed at the end of last year. Ah, yes. It was an English doctor she killed, as I understand it. Dr. John H. Wilson, yes. The man I invited to Japan personally. The mystery is, why did she kill him? And now the culprit herself is dead. We'll probably never know the answer.
On the voyage to Great Britain, we had a most unexpected encounter with Mr. Herlock Sholmes, the great detective, I mean.
Yes, I remember Mr. Sholmes well, of course. Ah, my arch-nemesis. How lightly you utter his name.
Well, according to the stories published about him in the Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, the detective once had a partner who helped him solve crimes. A best friend. And that man was an exceptional doctor of medicine by the name of Dr. John H. Wilson. What? Dr. Wilson? I just can't believe that it's a coincidence. I think that the English doctor of medicine, killed here in Japan 9 months ago, must have been the friend and partner of Mr. Sholmes. And if that's really true, then the poor girl won't ever see her beloved father again.
As you know, I traveled to Great Britain once myself to study. It was around the time you were born.
Yes, grandmother told me about it.
On returning to Japan, I took up my professorship at the Imperial Yume University. But I also serve another role as an advisor to the government on diplomatic affairs.
Yes, I was aware of that as well.
In that case, I'm sure you understand that there are some confidential matters I cannot divulge to you.
Could you just tell me one thing? Why did you summon me back to Japan?
Mm,
It's been 2 months now since I returned. When I left England, it was because an urgent telegram arrived from Japan. It said that you'd collapsed with a high fever and you were growing weaker by the day. Oh, what? Where did that news come from? That's what I'd like to know. Because after that long sea voyage, I found you in fine health, Father. Was there something in Great Britain that you perceived might inconvenience me in some way? Or harm me? That's really the only explanation I can think of.
Dear me. Do you reserve your most cutting glares for your father, Susato? I'm sorry, my dear. I simply can't.
ah! Let me go!
Many memos-san. So, one throw wasn't enough for you.
I've got one last thing before they take me away, Professor. Me? I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went on. In that visiting student's fate. Visiting student? Giselle Brett? No! Not her! The student of law, who left for Great Britain 8 months ago.
What? He must mean... Kazuma-sama. What are you talking about? What does any of this have to do with Kazuma-sama?
Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it.
They don't know that the guy never made it to England, that he died on that steamship, and that he'll never...
Ah!
Oh, the judge? The judge? Oh my god. Well, I didn't expect to find him here. What were you officers playing at? Oh my god, this judge is crazy strong. Terribly sorry, Your Excellency. I was coming to tell you that the rickshaw has arrived, Eugene. And it's a good job I came by. Yes. Thank you for dealing with him. And I'll be there shortly.
Oh, Your Excellency.
Ah ha ha ha. The trial's over. I'm not Your Excellency anymore. Merely your father's friend. Seishiro Jigoku. Yikes.
One moment. I wanna put his name in the Seishiro. Well, unfortunately, there's a few readings for Seishiro. Like a couple different kanji that line up for the reading. At least according to my keyboard. So, but I'm pretty sure his name means pure and innocent underworld. Jigoku is the Japanese word for hell, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. Okay. So that's quite an interesting name the judge has here. We'll ignore that for now. And may I say that since I saw you last, you seem to have taken on a more dashing appearance. Susato.
Did you know all along from the start of the trial?
Ha 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 ha. A judge sees everything, Susato.
I couldn't let you take the risk. If Seishiro here hadn't known, and then he'd recognized you. So, I had a word in his ear beforehand, as an old friend. So, Seishiro, shall we?
Yes. Having ruled on that case, we now have various diplomatic issues to address.
Before you go, father,
Sorry, my dear. We shall have to return to our earlier conversation at a later date. But well done again, both of you. You did admirably.
oh, thank you very much.
What did you think? Sorry. I read that ahead of starting to read it aloud. What did you think of my Seishiro sling? Eh? It's been a while since I sent a man flying like that. Ha 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 ha!
Whatever could father be hiding from me? About Giselle Brett. About Dr. Wilson. And now it seems, according to the reporter, about Kazuma-sama.
Sorry, I moved a lot closer for that one.
I'm going to have to bring this up with father sometime. When nobody else is around.
Judicial Assistant Mikotaba-san Esquire S. Could I have a word?
Oh, yes, of course, Soseki-san. What is it?
I think perhaps it could be fate that we're meeting again like this now. You see, there's something I need to tell you.
Oh,
I believe that it may be related to the reason why your father summoned you back from England.
this I have to hear. Please, Soseki-san, tell me at once.
I will. As you know, my time in England was terrible. Cursed. I have no doubt. Such awful things I was embroiled in. Thank goodness locum student Naruhodo... Thank goodness locum student Naruhodo-san Esquire stepped in. After he secured my freedom, I couldn't wait to get on a ship back here to my homeland. Having arrived in Japan, I submitted a report about my experiences to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The next thing I knew, I had a visitor. It was your father, Professor Mikotaba. He wanted to ask me all sorts of things about my report.
My father. He seemed to be
especially taken with a particular part of the report. Anyway, he left eventually, having thoroughly quizzed me. But it was the very next day that he sent the telegram to you asking you to return to Japan.
What was it then? The particular part my father was interested in.
I don't really know exactly. But do you remember them? Those two terrible cases I was caught up in?
Of course. I could never forget.
Your father seemed to concern himself mainly with the second case.
The second one? You mean... Okay, it wasn't just me. Cause like, Saseki-san mentioned being involved in a second case earlier, and it just left me plain confused. Was it a case we didn't play? Is that possible? The one Mr. Sholmes forbade any of us talk about in public? Which is why the only case involving you that any member of the public is aware of is the first. Apparently including me. And Ryunosuke was probably the lawyer in that one too. I guess we're gonna get a flashback.
Well, I don't care. I don't have to listen to what that dastardly detective says. Anyway, the point is, it seems that that case somehow holds the key to all these curious unanswered questions. That horrific, hideous, heinous case. The case of the haunted lodgings.
Isn't that the first case? What? That case somehow caused my father to summon me urgently back to Japan. I thought that whole business was over, but it seems I was wrong. Wait, what are they talking about? Perhaps that was only the start. Perhaps the story is not yet told.
I think it's not told.
So, the mystery of that English woman's death is solved, thank goodness. And having stood in the Supreme Court now, I think I can comprehend a little better. How you must be feeling as you fight for people's freedom in a foreign land, Naruhodo-san. But actually, I'm writing to you today because of another matter. I met Soseki-san and we talked about that second case he was involved in. Father has said nothing to me, but I feel certain of it. That case holds the key to some great unsolved mystery. My notes on the case should still be in the office, tucked away at the back of the shelves on the left. Perhaps you might like to look over them again. Today, for the first time this year, it feels as though summer has arrived. The sky is a brilliant blue. It makes me long to see you again. Yours, Susato.
And we've made it. We're only like 4 hours into the stream. We've done it. Okay. So we are going to review his case as the next one. That will start to open up whatever is going to happen after. But yeah, I have to end here. We finished the first case of the second game. We've done it. We got Mini Memo. He's been caught. But yeah. Thanks everyone for sticking around and watching. I hope you enjoyed wrapping up this case as much as I have. And it seems like it's only going to get more and more interesting from here out. So, we'll have to see next time. I will be continuing this game next week, probably on Sunday, still. But the stream might actually end up earlier in the day. We'll see when I make my schedule tomorrow or Tuesday or something. But, yeah. I hope everyone has a good rest of their night or day. And I will see you again on Wednesday for sure, but there's a chance that something could come up slightly earlier than that, but I have to ask someone else for clarification on that point. But yeah, have a good night. See ya.